Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Inside My Classroom. I'm Miss Guzman, and this is my classroom. So this week I'm going to actually be talking just a little bit about group work. Somebody had asked me to do a video on group work. Well, I had asked if anybody had some things they wanted me to do videos on, and so somebody had told me a good one to do a video on would be how to manage group work. So I thought about it, and I thought there's entirely too many different ways to talk about managing group work and different kinds of group work for me to do a single YouTube video. So I'm going to do this one first, and then I'll do some other ones about managing group work. Because for me, group work can kind of mean several different things. And I'm going to try to hold this steady so that I'm not shaking around too much and moving my hands because I move my hands too much. One of the things that I need to say about group work, and this is what I believe at the very beginning, is before you assign group work, you need to look around your class and think about the dynamic of the students in your class. And you need to think about the capabilities of the students in your class and kind of the likes and dislikes of the students in your class. So sometimes, depending on the class, group work can look different in one class than it can in another class. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Recently, we did food webs and food chains and energy pyramids. And I thought this is a good thing. The students have already kind of hit this concept in elementary school, so I thought this is a good lesson where the students can be the ones to teach this lesson, okay? So I have my group, and this is my group here. So it's Mr. Frog and Mr. Bear and Mrs. Snake, okay? And we are all in a group, and we have to teach about food webs. But how are we going to do that? So I, as the teacher, I was very specific to my groups, and I said, you have to have a teaching element that has like a lecture or a PowerPoint where you're telling the kids about what is a food chain, what is a food web, what is an energy pyramid. And I gave the kids like a list of vocabulary words and things that I wanted them to make sure that they hit on that was in, the TEKS so that they would know, or it's in our standards here in Texas, in case you're watching this outside of Texas. So I gave them what I wanted from the teaching part, and then I let them kind of go and create that. And they could create, I told them they could create fill-in-the-blank notes, and I showed some of them how to do that based on what they wanted to do. So first of all, they had to have the teaching part. Second, they had to have an activity, okay? So in the activity, I told them it could be a worksheet, it could be, some kind of foldable. I said, think about all the things that we've done, and then use Google. I said lots of good teachers use Google, and so they'll Google food chain activity, see what comes up, and they'll look and see if it's something that they like. So some of them did that, so that was the activity part. Then the third thing I said that they had to do was they had to have some kind of quiz to check the kids' understanding. And a lot of my kids like to do Kahoot. So I said, that's fine. Y'all can make the Kahoot. That's great. That's technology. A lot of them could do it on their phones, so they didn't need extra technology if you don't have that in your classroom. I just told them that the amount of questions that they had to have, and I told them that they had to have pictures on every question so that it would give them something to be doing over the course of time. And they had to correspond with the people that were making the teaching part so that they knew what they were teaching, so that the questions corresponded with the teaching and the activity. So they had to work together and then come to an end result. Now, that was kind of the basic one that I thought of, but I have some really big classes, a couple of classes that are 31 kids, and I only have 3 concepts, right? So I broke the groups into like 2 food chain, 2 food web, 2 energy pyramid so that the groups were a little smaller, but you're still talking about 5 kids with only 3 tasks. So then the other thing I did for those bigger classrooms was I said that they had to find a video that was between 3 to 5 minutes that had to go along with the teaching part, that had to connect with the Kahoot and with the quiz, and that they had to have like a little short, like true false multiple choice quiz to go with the video. So then I added that in. So then there was this extra dynamic. So I thought about what was going on. Now, I didn't have the video in some of my classes where I only have like 17 kids, because I kind of have that spectrum this year where I've got like 17 kids in one class and then 31 in another. So I didn't add that element unless it was my pre-AP and they got to a point where I felt like they were going to be too finished, and then I added that in. But a lot of the time with the pre-AP, they'll bring you something and you'll be like, well, you could do this. Like if they make a PowerPoint and they could add like extra vocabulary or transitions to the PowerPoint so that they're learning some computer skills while they have some extra time. So I'm always thinking of what they can do with that extra time. So I kind of laid out the roles for them, and then I let them choose in the beginning. And then you're watching them, okay? You have to constantly be monitoring them, and you have to be saying, how's it going with your teaching part? How's it going with your activity part? So like Mr. Frog here had decided that he was doing the teaching part. So I checked with Mr. Frog. How's it going? Are you doing your PowerPoint? Do you have something for the kids? Good. Okay. Then I talked to Miss Snake here, and Miss Snake was doing the Kahoot. Well, Miss Snake, have you talked to Mr. Frog about the teaching part, right? Have you gotten with Mr. Bear about the activity so that it's all tying together? So I was checking on them. And some of the groups have a hard time picking. And you have kids that are lollygagging, so you try to find those strengths. And you tell them, oh, I noticed that, John over there isn't helping a lot, but I know John's really good with the internet. How about is he helping with the Kahoot? Is he finding the video? So you're talking to the kids about their strengths and getting them to help. Or, they could take pictures and, make a little of their own slideshow, or it just depends on what their skill set is and what they're good at. So you have to kind of find the things that the kids are good at. So far, I haven't had kids that completely are not participating in it. Do you have moments where they're not participating? Great, and they're off task? Of course, because they're a bunch of kids getting together, right? So you're just, again, you're cycling through the room and you're checking on and you're hitting those groups that are struggling, and you're checking and you're doing that little thermometer check. Are you getting this done? Are you getting this done? Are you doing this? Are you doing okay? Do you need my help, right? So that is what I do for group. That's one example of what I do for group work. So again, I think the basic thing is to know your classes, know your class size, know the strengths of your students. If you have kids that are good with technology, make sure that you're adding a technology element in. If you have students that are good at writing and they enjoy writing, add some kind of writing piece in. Okay, think about who your audience is and what their strengths are, and then what they can bring to the group work. And then set them out to make the group assignment, and then coach them and guide them. Okay, that's the biggest strength that I find in teaching, is you're checking, you're coaching, you're guiding, and you're making sure they're on track. So I hope all of that information helped you. I hope that was good and helpful. If it's not, let me know. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like some assistance with, and I'll be glad to bring you back into my classroom and give you some more information. Thanks so much.